There are different
Inside Story Uganda,
lives anyway.
real source of political updates.
Especially working in security, whether military or police, or even the other security work. It's really intense. It's intense and it's stressful. But like in our case, when we came from the bush, our orientation was basically to serve. And in spite of that, even the stress was positive stress. It was not negative stress. And it basically empowered you to work. And it felt good to be challenged. And you felt good when you made a difference in people's lives, securing the country, fighting crime. So while of course it was intense, therefore, it was basically rewarding, and I feel very good that I don't think life would have been the same if I had not served.
Where would you rather be?
At my age.
Yeah.
At my age, I would rather be here. Because I think 41 years of service, public service here, isn't that enough? Only that, of course, sometimes you feel nostalgic. Sometimes when you see things here, even here locally, and yet you don't have the authority to make a difference, so you feel nostalgic. But overall, first of all, and the other reason is really it was those 41 years of service were fruitful. We transformed the course of history of this country, and I feel, in my small way, I feel good that however small contribution I made, I feel good with myself. You know, I didn't waste my life. I wasn't living for myself. Like being a careerist. So I feel that we served, and now it's time for your generation to take over the mantle, and I think you are doing so very well.
You abandoned continuing with education and joined the Bush War.
I didn't abandon. At
the time when you were going to join the Bush War, I think.
Yes, I was doing I had finished graduate studies, and you are right, because I had opportunities to continue either further studies or for a career, my career as in the legal profession. But as I have said many other times, that time had engendered in us really a lot of anger because of the way the country was, the state it was in. People were running away. All my relatives were either in Kenya or abroad somewhere, and I'm sure even yourself, your relatives at that time must have suffered the same. Plus, because you see, what our adolescent lives were under Idi Amin. Then after Idi Amin, we think that now we have got Bakuombozi in 79. Instead, we sank deeper into chaos. And a number of us, I remember, classmates like Honorable Jim, who was a close friend, we made a decision that we cannot be in a passive posture. We must get involved. We had seen, the president had really shown us that it is possible. Because during Idi Amin's time, we could not think, a soldier, even a private, was like God, or was like somebody you could not touch. But the war, the war of liberation of 79, but specifically when we saw the president, I have had occasion to say this. He really demystified all this. And we felt even us who are not trained can actually take up arms the way he did and fight. So when an opportunity presented itself in 81, because things were getting worse, even after UNLF government, remember, Obote came back, country sank in further chaos. So we had no option. There was no option for somebody who was really conscious, politically conscious, who had, I don't know how to put it anyway, who could not just be passive. So we joined the struggle. I mean, I saw no point in pursuing studies. Then, for example, okay, you talk about the legal profession. Where would you practice it? Well, unfortunately, I'm quite far removed from the center of activity, whether political or any other activity. Being in the village, okay, you access news, but I wouldn't be very authoritative to really make a comprehensive response to your question. But talking, you see, we must have a historical perspective when you are analyzing any situation. And for me, when I look at those of us who lived at that time, our generation, somebody was calling our generation that Generation 86. There was no state to talk about. It was chaotic. And remember, when we came into government in 86, we were again engulfed in these counter insurgencies all over which engulfed the whole country. And I believe it's only, and then of course you also had the problems of Karamoja, which had never really integrated into the country. Karamoja is not 25,000 square kilometers. It's almost the size of some of the countries that I know. Yet it had never really been integrated. And we had a problem of cattle rustling. So from the 86 to 2005, we're grappling with establishing, fighting the insurgencies and establishing a democratic state under a constitution that is derived from the people's aspirations. I remember I represented the army with the late Serwanga Rwanga in the Constitutional Commission, and we collected views of the people, and it was the basis of the 1995 Constitution. And that became the foundation now. Even in the midst of all those challenges of establishing security, at the same time, there was the challenge of establishing strong foundations of a democratic state. And I believe, so when you look at it from that perspective, certainly there has been a huge transformation. There is a country to talk about. Look at our region, all Africa. Look at Congo. Look at even Sudan. Sudan disintegrating. Countries which are disintegrating, which used to be very strong. And yet here we have a stable country, which in 1985 had become like that, had become like Congo. So when one should be sober and take a historic perspective, and once you do that, then you realize that definitely we have achieved a lot in terms of stability and security, in spite of what I would call tactical challenges here and there.
Let's talk about those tactical challenges, because during your time as IGP, you had all these assassinations going on. Let's talk about the assassination of Joan Kagezi, who was...
but before you talk about that, let's talk about, it was not, the assassinations didn't start in my time. Remember, even under my predecessor, General Katumba Wamala, there were assassinations of prominent people, especially targeting businessmen. And remember, that's how Operation Wembley was conceived, and to be able to counter It was some sort of terrorism. And of course, we're also emerging from, these, as I was telling you, the insurgencies, and then the ADF, which is still a challenge, although it is weakened.
Were these internal, the insurgencies?
The insurgencies were they were internal, but supported from outside, mainly Sudan and Congo, Zaire, later on Congo. So that's the background. Now, the assassinations that happened were mainly ADF generated. It was not terror, it was mainly ADF, because it was urban guerrilla warfare. And so targeting certain vulnerable people. So that of course I can't say much now after I don't know how many, 7 years out of government, or 8 years, no, 7 years, 2018 to today. But when I left, we had there were a number of assassinations of sheikhs, for instance. But we managed to arrest quite a number of them. I think over I think there were like 35, and out of those, if I remember, 20 confessed and are in court. And then of course you remember Jamil Mukuru was eventually got with the assistance of Tanzania, and in fact all those the evidence clearly showed that they were part of that terrorism that of course was led by Jamil Mukuru. And that's why you see those cases are when Jamil Mukuru was extradited, the cases of those who were captured, that was about 2013, 2014, 2015. The DPP decided to merge all those cases, and we captured a number of weapons which they were using. In fact, when you talk about the late Joan Kagezi, very, very respectable principal prosecutor, she was, I remember, the DP, because our investigations were prosecution-led. I think they are still prosecution, I don't know, but especially the major cases like terrorism and other serious crimes, murder, robbery. So the DPP then, now Justice Chibuita, attached to our team, or joint, because we established, because the terrorism at that time was based in the east, Busoga, Namayingo, even in Bari. Although there were cases of, like in Kampala, where they killed my two very good friends, Sheikh Chiria and Sheikh Bahiga, who had helped us a lot, by the way, from the time I became IGP. We connected, because my approach was to mobilize. So I'd mobilize them. They belonged to a sect, I think, based in the Nakasero. And but one thing that they did, which I will never forget, was they countered the extremism within that sect, and number two, helped to bring the police and other security agencies, as well as, of course, government, closer to the Muslim community. And I believe the reason they were killed was because they were working with me. The intelligence, that's the intelligence we got. We had given them security, but apparently it could not help to save them. Sometimes I get really angry when I see some very responsible, I don't know what this is for one, posting, kind of saying that I was behind the Byelele, who were my collaborators, and who clear intelligence established that they were killed because they were linked, they were helping government. They were killed by ADF. They were calling, there is a word We have evidence. There is one suspect I remember very well called Kabambwe, Ali Kabambwe, who was responsible for killing a number of sheikhs, and even the LC3 of Namayin called Okwale, the first one. We got him and he confessed. He even killed 2 policemen. When I was camped in Bugiri, 2 policemen who were guarding the home of Justice Monda. After then that's how he was got. And we even led us to where they had hidden the guns. Instead of what bothers me is maybe some people who post out those whatever they post out, maybe it's out of ignorance, a lack of information. But
What about for the case of Joan Kagezi?
Joan Kagezi was, first of all, let me say this. I told you Joan Kagezi was attached to us as basically a principal legal advisor because of our investigations were prosecution led, as I told you, and her murder was a big shock to us, especially to me, who was very close to her. And you remember the requiem service we had in Tinda, and what I said, my speech. We put the team. By that time, of course, the team she was advising was inter-agency security team. All the agencies were represented, including even from SFC. Then, because it was definitely clear from the intelligence we had, perpetrated by elements connected with the ADF. That was the intelligence that we had. On top of our joint team, FBI joined in, reinforced us, because Joan had worked very closely with the FBI, and they were really saddened by what had happened. So it was a formidable team that investigated, that we put together to investigate, connected to Al-Shabaab. Others were connected to ADF. Of course, that's a case that case and the one of Kawes, and I don't know, talking about the prominent cases that I left unfinished, as unfinished business. But we had established leads. There was a joint team. So for somebody to, out of the blue, the kind of, this is, I see after the arrest of this man, Nixon, against me. And I'm really grateful to the president. Really, we should be grateful, Canada, to the president. The president is very, very patient, doesn't rush. While there was pressure to arrest me, they came and picked me from here. And there had been that established that audio, that I'm sure you followed, that was fake. It was just manufactured. With the witnesses they had were fabricated. This is not this was again a joint security team which investigated all that. Rubbish team.
For the case,
so the same thing is happening now to me and my family, based on complete falsehood. I think they're the same forces now starting this. I thought they had given up, because it's ridiculous for somebody to suggest that I hate Muslims. If anything, if there's any community that I have a lot of intimate relations, this is the Muslim community. The leadership. Go to Prince Nakivi, Sheikh Habib Kajimu. I've just told you of these sheikhs who I was working with, including even Sheikh Kamoga at one time, because my approach was to mobilize, to win over. That's the approach I know, which we used effectively in fighting the Bush War. So really, it's malicious, it's false, it's annoying, and especially, you see, what even kills me, after the murder of Joanna Kagezi, I took responsibility for the security of the family. Not only that, I cared for them to the extent I could. Right now, the children are not different from my biological children, and they are so close. Now you can imagine what damage it does. These irresponsible people writing nonsense in the social media.
Let's talk about the new evidence that has linked Nixon Agasirwe, former police officer,
What evidence? I'm not aware.
to the killing of Joan Kagezi.
I'm
His
not
operational scope was under you. Were you aware of his links to
there
the
were
crime?
actually, let me tell you, there's something which, one of the lines of